All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. And Karen, I appreciate your question on wondering when you can start the process of your cover design. Now, the cover design is part of the formatting package. So, what we have initially is once your revisions are done, you go into the soul read with Tom. After you make any changes or suggestions, incorporate that from him. Then it goes into the style evaluation, incorporate any suggestions, changes from that, goes into copy edit. You get that information back, accept the changes, and then get ready to go into formatting. That includes your interior and your exterior of your book. The exterior is the front, back, and spine of your cover. So it encapsulates all those areas. So a lot of times when you start to work with Greg on your author website, or possibly with Mary Denise under the Amazon bestseller campaign, they're looking for a cover because they want to just have the front image design to start promoting and market your message in your book. Well, a cover design is more intensive than that. You have the spine and the back cover too. So some of the common things that are put on a cover, like the back cover design, is a book description, an author photo, your UPC symbol with the ISBN formatting. So when it just gets scanned, a lot of times the book price is printed on there as well. And so you want to start thinking of your entire exterior design in that cover design. We can submit anything to the formatting team, even if the interior is not complete. So if your edits are not complete, but you want to proceed with your book cover, you can fill out the book specification form. And that book specification form gets into the size of your manuscript. And the most common sizes are 5 1/4 by 6 1/2 or 6 by 9. No, is that right? 5 1/4 by 8 1/2, sorry, or 6 by 9. And those are the two most common, but there's a large variety of cover or book sizes you can do. And the thing is, it depends. You want to get on a certain number of pages in order to have something look nice on the actual spine of your book and not just be too thin that they couldn't read your author name or your title on that. So you want to get to that magic number of 101 pages in your manuscript, which equates to about 40,000 words. That it's at a Times New Roman 12-point font. So that's a standard size font. Now, authors can manipulate the size of the font in order to increase the page numbers. You can also look at different font designs in order to have a little bit, even a 12-point font can be a little bit wider than a Times New Roman. And so therefore, it equates to more pages overall. So those are some of the different things, and what we recommend doing when it looks at the interior formatting of your book is that you go to the bookstore, you visit, you look at the different books in your genre, some of the different typesetting and so forth. Take pictures and images of the designs that you really do like, because we can emulate anything as long as we have the instructions. Otherwise, what you'll get from the formatting process is a vanilla Times New Roman 12-point font, basically right justified typesetting, double spaced manuscript. Okay, so it's important that you be very clear on what it is that you want. The exterior, anytime you're ready, if the concept or the design of the exterior, authors approach it different ways. They may have an image already in mind. If you're submitting an image, all your images, whether it's on the exterior of the book or the interior of the book, needs to be a minimum of 300 DPI. So it has to be a high resolution photo, minimum 300 DPI, and you must own the rights or have permission to use that or have a copyright-free image that you can get off of a number of resources. And I know that John has a source that he likes, and you can feel free to type that into the chat room, John, if you'd like. And I'll read that out for the people recording or listening to this later. With your exterior design, when it gets submitted to the formatting team, even if you don't have your interior, you still need to have the overall size of your book figured out. That's why it can be difficult for the author to go that route, because they don't know how many final pages are. You're not in that place, Karen. You have your overall manuscript, and the same with you, Pam. So it's not like you're looking at revising and adding to that manuscript. You've already gone through the copy edit process, so you're good to go in that area. So now it's time to just pick your book size and the format, fill out that book specification form. Do you both have that form already? Yes? Pam doesn't, Karen does. Okay, got it. And I'll get that to you, Pam. And you're going to fill that out with the information. We issue the ISBNs from that. We issue an ISBN for both the paperback version and the ebook. An ISBN is an independent number that is associated specifically with your book in that particular media. So it's like a social security number. We issue those, and we can do that with just an exterior only design going in without the interior. Oftentimes the author has everything compiled all at one time to make it a very streamlined process. With your interior, it's not just your manuscript, it's not just your book. Your interior also includes things like your copyright page, acknowledgments, testimonials, if you have indexes, or any type of, addendums in the back, anything, or images. All of that needs to come together and be as complete as possible going in, which helps the revision process run a little bit smoother and quicker so that you can meet your deadlines for launch dates and your own personal goals, that type of thing. So when you're thinking of your interior, think of all that. Just like with your exterior, think of your author bio, your author photo. It needs to be a professional headshot, or as best as professional, again, minimum 300 DPI. It's not sufficient to take an image off of your camera, oftentimes, or your cell phone. Even though they're very good quality, it's not necessarily a professional image. And just imagine that image is being emblazoned on your book. What do you want that to say to others? What else? So I know, Karen, does that answer your question as far as when we can start working on the cover design?
Is there a cover designer, or are we supposed to put it all together ourselves?
Well, basically, the way you can approach it is, again, you have a concept that you put down on your book specification form. You include any images, or if you want them to come up with something, they will read the book. You don't work specifically one-on-one with them. We work as a liaison, and in fact, it will be Steve, our project coordinator, who will be working as that liaison because he handles the technical aspects of the book. He picks up the book after copy edit and when it goes into formatting. And so then, you work with that design team as far as kind of concepts or ideas or colors, things like that. The good news is Steve, in addition to having this amazing technical knowledge and background, also has a flair for graphic design, which is something I do not and never have a desire to really build up my resume in that way. So Steve can also help work with you as far as developing a concept for your book cover before it goes into the formatting team. So if that's what the assistance that you need, I would recommend having a conversation with him, and he'll help you with the book specification form, possibly finding some images or the right colors, that type of thing. I
would like to do that if you could put me in touch with him. Thank you.
Okay. I tell you what, would you just send, I'm going to ask both you and Pam just to send me a reminder email. So Pam, you need the book specification form, and Karen, because I'm trying to do a little bit more than I normally do and can't usually take notes like I do. And that will help me. And Steve's address is really easy. It's steve@tombird.com. So yes, and again, he'll handle all the technical aspects. And I know, let's see here, I've got a few things here. Because Pamela, you also asked some other questions, but before we get in some of the additional questions, I do want to note the upcoming Publish Now sessions that we have next week on October 13th. David Thalberg will be back, and he is going to be focusing on media and message building. So it'll be a little bit of a lecture. We're not going to be doing any interviews or anything like that next week, but more just helping you to build the concept around your branding and your message. And then we do not have a session on October 20th, so no session October 20th. But our next session will be October 27th, and I'm going to be discussing how to book speaking engagements. to help promote your work. That is how Tom and I first met, is I booked his speaking engagements. So hopefully I can impart a little bit of wisdom in that area. We'll see. If not, I'll wing it. Another thing I want to announce before we get too far, some of you are already aware and some of you are already going to Rachel Jane and Data Groover's Awaken Your Impact event in Dallas, Texas, October 14th through the 16th. They opened up an invitation for tickets available when they attended our August retreat. I actually introduced Rachel Jane and Data. I've been very familiar with their work for several years now. And Tom, back in April when Tom came to Colorado, and I could see the brilliant connection between these two. So Rachel Jane and Data help people, conscious entrepreneurs, build a brand around their message and build a significant revenue stream around their business message. And have been, they went from teaching some art of feminine presence practices to a group of 6 women in their family room, which actually I know one of those women, and she works with them today still, all the way up to building a multiple 7-figure a year income on speaking and presence. And so the Awaken Your Impact event does have a lot of information available, and Sally with them has a few tickets still available at no charge, but you have to contact her directly, and her number is 928-300-2816. And I'm going to put that in the chat room. And if it doesn't work for the live event, did that go in? It doesn't look like, I can't see that I copied and put in there. Can you guys see any message I put in? Yeah, okay. Let me see if I can type it. I don't know why it's not going in there. But again, you can go to awakenyouриmpact.com. It's October 14th through the 16th in Dallas, Texas. And if you can attend live, you can contact Sally at 928-300-2816. There. Okay, now it's coming up. So now it's in there multiple times. And they do have a 4-hour live stream if you're unable to attend live. And that could be very beneficial, especially if they get to the point where they're discussing ways in which you can profitize your message. And I just want to get that link put into the chat room. Again, if you go to awakenyouриmpact.com, you'll be able to find all the information there. And I'll just put this in here. Come on. 1 second. But I think the live stream is a good option because it is short notice and try to travel and all that expense. So that is a way, that link there, if you press on that, hopefully it will copy and paste it into a browser. You can get information on the 4-hour live stream available on that. And now Pam had some additional questions. And one of these, again, congratulations, Pam. And, Karen, you got your copy edit back earlier, and Pam now has hers. And so you guys are moving forward and getting ready to go in the formatting process. That's really exciting. So good job. You inspire the rest of us. And if the byline says that an executive editor can be reached via email or phone, does that mean that they wouldn't welcome snail mail? And I had to laugh at this question at first because I was like, what is she talking? And I understood then a minute. It took me a minute to understand what you were really saying there. And I'm going to share the screen so people, because I know a lot of people are visual like me. So what Pam is discussing is when she's sending out her press releases and things like that, possibly in her soft launch period, where she has the proof in her hand. The physical proof is in her hand, but it's maybe not quite the final project or product because you want to have maybe an endorsement or testimonial from somebody. Everyone welcomes a snail mail at some level, and they just don't, I don't put my physical address in my contact line and my email address. So you're not going to find somebody's physical address on a website, because if you want to mail something to them, their physical address is listed somewhere in that website. It's just not going to be showing usually at their contact information. So absolutely, yes, if it's appropriate and you want to send a physical copy, you should definitely do that. In fact, handing it to them personally is, the ideal situation. I definitely, when we're talking about a celebrity type endorsement from somebody, do not send the PDF document of your ebook. While that is a very effective means of sharing it with your friends and family and getting feedback, that type of thing, that is not a professional representation of your work or your book when you're looking for a professional endorsement. Okay. How soon should we talk to an artist about using his art for our book cover? Yesterday. There's no, if there's an artist that's inspired and you want to work with that artist for your book cover, talk to them as soon as possible. Again, when you're submitting any type of imagery for your book cover, you need to own the rights or have permission to do so. And usually that would just be addressed in your copyright page, who the artist is for your cover design is on your copyright page. But yeah, work with them as soon as possible. And then how soon should we create our LLC company? And where's the best resource for this? Again, starting as soon as possible on any projects is always recommended and good, especially when your momentum is going. As far as an LLC company establishing it, a lot of our authors have used LegalZoom as a resource and found it to be very easy and economical. But, submit to the Google, because I am not a lawyer and cannot give legal advice. So, but definitely I think that wouldn't be a problem to go to LegalZoom. I don't need to say that. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Does anyone else have any questions before I move on to some on proper formatting of manuscripts? And if you do, you can either type it in the chat or unmute yourself. All right, that's nice. You guys are going easy on me.
Wait, I just have a quickie. I am conflicted because I have two pictures that I love very, very much for the cover. Could Steve help me decide which of the two I should ultimately pick? Because everyone's divided. I have 50-50 on each side.
Well, and you're going to, no matter how many people you poll, you're going to always have a division because people have personal preferences and so forth. I know the images you're referring to. I personally resonated with the more human versus the statue. It felt more real. It felt more loving. It felt warm. Where other people may see the statues as more comforting for them because it creates that separation of the reality from fantasy, or however they want to, view your message. So you're not going to please the masses, and ultimately, yes, you can absolutely consult with Steve. Send him an email at steve@tombird.com and tell him you're ready to start the concept and you'd like to get his input. But honestly, you already have the answer. You're afraid to make the decision, because if you do, then you're responsible for it. And so, especially when you have two choices, you're always going to have a division. And so it's going to come down to you trusting what you believe to be right for your book.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So what was I supposed to talk about tonight? Okay, I know. We're going to go over formatting. And I know I mentioned this a few weeks ago about some proper formatting, and I never got back around to doing it because, lo and behold, other things came up. So I'm going to see if I can make this as big as possible. I actually am using one of our author's books, and I had to make changes to it to get it to where I want to show you it needs to be. So actually it was in pretty good shape. So if Tim is listening later, I'll let him know this was my own doing. But when your manuscript goes into Soul Read for Tom, it doesn't have to be in any particular format. However, when it does go into your copy edit, and so probably prior to your style edit, you want to have it in a standard format in which editors find it easy to read and capture mistakes, and with minimizing the eye strain on them. And so the most common font that is used is Times New Roman 12-point font. Again, that is the standard font that our formatters will default to if you don't specify any other particular formatting in your interior. Okay, so if you look here, Tim has, well, honestly, I did not change the font. So he has it set up as Lucida Sans at 16 point. So see, I love what he does here. Instead of doing zooming and making it bigger to you so you can read it for, without readers, he changes the font size to make it 16 point, which is fine. But you have to ask yourself, do you want your printed book to be large print? Now they have large print books. That's not typically very common. And so I haven't seen anyone go over a 14-point font, and that looks pretty big, honestly, on paper. So here, Tim needs to get this into the copy editor, yet it is not in a format the copy editor is going to read. So we need to format it in that as quickly as possible. John can attribute to some of that formatting can go either very quickly or very slowly. So there are some tricks within Word in which you can use to expedite this process. Now, you could go in and just start to select everything and go all the way to the bottom of this. Let's see, what is this? I need to change my speaker view here. All the way to the bottom of 335 pages, selecting everything, which good luck not moving your finger off the mouse and, messing up at some point there. So that's not very feasible. So instead, you can do the select all. And when you go to edit, edit becomes your friend, because actually just think, when you're in a book and you're working on revisions or you're going to copy edit, you need to work within edit. And so when edit, you actually want to just select all. That selects your entire manuscript at that point. And then you can change the font by either, see, this may not let me. Let me see, font. Go up into the format maybe and font. And then type in Times New Roman. Let it catch up with you. It's a big document. And select the 12-point font. So there, we're going to convert the entire manuscript to Times New Roman 12-point font. Select OK, and it changes it. Now we went from, 335 pages. See, it's going down now because that font size has changed significantly. Now this doesn't seem like such an overwhelming book to read, and if I want to read it, then I just increase the font size on the screen to a place that is more comfortable for my eyes. Okay, so we want to stay within that 12-point range. Now, he already has his paragraphs indented. That is a standard book formatting process, but we don't type that way. Typically, we just do 2 returns or enters after the end of a paragraph, and we start again at a left justified. So if your book is in that left justified, another way you can change that quickly is to edit, select all, and then you go to format paragraph. And you want to put in an indentation in the paragraph to the left of usually a 0.5 on the first line. So it's a special formatting, the left indentation of 1/2 inch on the first line, and then select OK. It changes everything. Now, this is a little bit different because of what Tim had already started out as, but that would be one way of formatting that and making that change relatively quickly. One of the other things I happen to notice that some of our authors do, this was not a problem in this manuscript, and I had to go put that in, is many of us were taught typing on typewriters. And with that, before word processors, we were trained that after a period or a sentence ending, punctuation, you double space. So you put 2 spaces after every period. Well, with the advent of word processing and the way that they've been able to make the fonts appear, they no longer have an issue with differentiating the end of a period and having, or the end of a sentence and having the period get too close to the beginning of a new sentence, like you would with a typewriter if you didn't double space. So now we had to retrain ourselves, or we're in the process of retraining ourselves and breaking old habits of putting in this 2 spaces after every period. Now, you definitely do not want to have that when it goes to formatting. When it goes into interior formatting, and if you have 2 spaces after a sentence, what's going to happen is, see over here in this document, it's not justified, it's not right justified, but when it goes into a book format, it does become right justified. I'd have to select all, I'll do that. And that means that every sentence or every line is going to be spread out in a manner so that there is a hard right justification, unless if you opt otherwise. But most people don't, because it does help to improve reading. So we can change this whole document. This is what happens. Now see, those 2 spaces that were there now looks like 4 spaces between that sentence. See how everything is really spread out here, and it almost makes your reader fall off. It's like they fall off a cliff and they don't know where to pick up again. This is going to create a lot of eye strain, and then ultimately the reader is going to put the book down. So when you're thinking about the interior format, you always want to think about the comfort of your reader, how well this is going to come across and how easy this is going to be for them to be able to read it in a easy manner in which everything flows. So we have all these double spaces here and we need to get rid of it. And unlike John, we're not going to go in and go delete them one at a time through the entire manuscript, because I'm surprised he didn't pull his hair out after a few hours. That would drive anyone insane. So there is a quick way to do this. You want to be at the beginning of your manuscript. And I use a lot of shortcut keys. I tend to work with my fingers and relatively fast, but there are 2 different ways to do this. You can go to Edit and you can go to Find. Under Edit, Find, or what I know as Command F on my MacBook, what PC users would know as Control F, that is telling your computer to find. And we're going to find something, and then we're going to replace it. So you can do the Edit Find, or you can do your Command F or Control F under a PC. And what we're going to be looking for here is a period and 2 spaces. Actually, what I'm going to search for is just 2 spaces. So I'm going to hit the space bar twice in the Find What column, hit space twice. Don't see anything, but my cursor moved 2 spaces. And we're going to replace that with a single space. So everywhere, and I'm going to hit Replace All. When I do that, you will see that Word has done that automatically and found 4,577 places where it needed to replace that. So that is now done pretty quickly, easily. Now if you look at this, it looks like everything, even where there's more spaces because it's right justified, it still seems to flow a little bit easier, makes it less straining on the reader. So Command F or Control F is your find. And once you're in Find, then you can add the Replace feature. This is also a really excellent way of, let's say you're writing a memoir and all of a sudden you need to change somebody's name. You need to change the guilty, to protect the name, to protect the guilty. You can do a search and replace on that name. And that way all those references to that name, and you don't have to worry about missing one in your manuscript. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to use that little function, and I find it very beneficial. I'm going to, let's see here, let's exit out of that real quick. See if you have any questions on that. I'm going to have a viewer. I need to make a participant. You can unmute yourself and let me know if you have any questions on that. Okay, guess it makes sense.
I have one question.
Yes.
About the paragraphs. So you're saying that when we hand it in for the interior formatting, that we are coming up with paragraphs? Like, I thought that someone would be reading it and being like, oh, you need a paragraph here. You need to be doing this. But that's not the case.
That comes in your revision. You'll be doing that in your revisions. As you, you'll actually, unless, and when you work with your editors, your copy editor may move your paragraph and lines and sentences around, make some suggestions in that way. But no, the formatting,
okay,
you still have a really skeleton document with paragraphs. Now, again, you don't have to do the indentations like that was shown, but typically in your writing, you're going to have your 3-4 sentences of a paragraph and do a double tap, 2 lines down, start the next paragraph, and you can keep it like that. That's not a problem. You don't have to do the indentations or anything like that, but you need to have something that does signify an actual paragraph. Otherwise, if you send them just a blank document, like a everything all together, you're going to get an everything all together out the door type thing too. You'll have your chapters defined and all that by the time it goes into formatting.
And the copy editor is after, before that? Sorry.
The copy editor is before the formatting.
Okay, so that answers everything. Okay.
Yeah, so you go sole read, style edit, copy edit, and then it goes into formatting. And we do highly recommend that authors also have a line editor, proofreader take a look at your book as well. You can't really have too many eyes taking a look at this. You want to submit. The universe agrees. Sorry about that. My mindfulness bell always goes off at the right time. And, it's one of those things that you really, when you get so immersed in your book, you're so close, you have the mouse view perspective. You really need somebody who's detached from it, who can just look at it as like a line editor actually physically looks at every single character within a line. That's what they do. It's very tedious work, but that's what they're designed to do, to find any kind of spelling errors, commas, and that's the thing. We have copy editors to look at those things, but what happens with our brain when we're reading and even twice through, an E and an I transposed isn't always caught. Thank goodness now in today's technology, we do have a lot of reliance on spell check, but I have a boss from many years ago when we started using spell check, and he always reminded me that spell check was not think check. So you still had to look to make sure you had the proper homophone uses of yours and theirs, and the lie lay thing. Oh my, don't even get started on that one. I say, just if you can avoid using those words at all, do. But
Sabrina?
Yes.
I have a question. What do you think about Grammarly?
Use it if it works for you. Yes, absolutely.
Because that's more than spell check, that's, usage and.
Yeah, absolutely. Grammarly is a resource that a lot of writers will use to help look at their overall context of their book. I wouldn't rely solely on it, but yes, it's a great, use as many resources as you can. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Okay, John, I want to thank you for putting in the website in there. The one that you prefer as far as the copyright free is 123RF, I guess, for writefree.com. So I know a lot of people get a lot of images for their blogs and so forth from there. So one more thing, I want to go back to the formatting of the book for the copy editor. In addition to being in Times New Roman 12-point font, the other thing is it needs to be double spaced. The lines need to be spread out for the copy editor. You don't need to do that for Tom. You don't need to do that for the style editor. But the copy editor, having that extra space, does allow them to really look at the characters a little bit more so than just reading through it quickly. So I want to show you how to do that rather quickly as well. Changing that. So you have your document here. Right now we're single spaced. So again, we're going to go to the edit and select all because we don't want to do that manually. And when you go to the format, after you have everything selected, go to format paragraph. And we're going to look at the line spacing. So right now it's blank and it shows before is blank. Well, we need to add what we want to do with the, I'm sorry, I need to change my speaker view again. The line spacing is at single. We want to add it to double. And this is going to be throughout the entire manuscript. And you hit OK. So now everything is double spaced. And that's ready for the copy editor at that point. Much easier for the copy editor to see everything, every comma, and so forth. You know, I want to cover something on commas real quick because this does come up occasionally. Oxford comma and not Oxford comma. Again, now copy editors are always going to have their own preferences. An Oxford comma, just so you know, has the comma, like if you have a list of 3 things, bacon, comma, eggs, comma, and toast. You add the comma after the eggs to separate the eggs from the and toast. And that's a pretty standard format. The Oxford is typically considered the proper way of writing English manuscripts. Not everyone is in the habit of doing that. And again, copywriters can be subjective on that, but our copywriters do lean to using the Oxford style of commas. And so you may see that come back on your manuscript. And so that's something now when you're in the revision phase, you might start thinking about if you're using the Oxford comma. And the reason it is more popular is because it does differentiate the eggs and the toast. Otherwise, you have eggs and toast next to each other, and it feels like they're combined, like the eggs are on the toast instead of 2 separate items. So that is something that is typically a preferred method. And okay, I think we're good on the word formatting, I hope. Did that give you some tips on how to do it quickly and easily? Did that help at all? Yeah? Okay, good. And now I'm going to show you how some of you have already gotten your copy edited documents back, even just this week. Others are going to be looking for them soon. So when the copy editor goes through, I'm going to open this up and share this screen. They do something in Word, it's called track changes. That means that any type of edits or notes that they make, they're actually going to show up highlighted, underscored, and oftentimes with a comment to show what was done. And if you look up here, it says track changes. That means the track changes are on. That means anything that gets written in here, like it will show up with the red lines and so forth. So it's showing that I was making these changes and that was my contribution to this. So this is an excellent way. No, don't want that. This is an excellent way for somebody to edit your document, and you can actually physically see what changes have been made. Now, Tom will tell you just go in and accept all changes. You can do that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But I think before you do that, you owe it to yourself to review every change first to make sure you are in agreement for it. Because like this one I just did, well, we don't need that in there. I'm going to reject that change. And I rejected that by Xing out of it instead of checking the check mark that says I accept it. So you can click the check mark to accept a change or the X to reject that change. And the reason I caution you and not just blindly accepting all the changes without reviewing it first is because, yes, while you're going to probably accept, I would say 99.5% of all the changes, there is that one little area. And I had this happen to me. I was in a compilation book. I had a chapter that was submitted to editing, and there was one specific word that was changed that I had, the word was typical as I had written it, and the editor thought average made more sense. Well, to that editor, yes, that made more sense. What that editor didn't know is that that word typical was actually guided information that was given to me specifically with a very detailed list. And that by changing typical to average, it changed the vibration of the message. And so it was one word, and yes, within that, it was pretty well, people could argue their preferences, but yet it made more sense to have it the way it originally was. So that's why I think it's important for you to go through and make sure that you do agree with all these changes. See, a lot of these things, she's just deleting things like spaces or commas, things like that. There's not a lot of, here she capitalized the word O, in the actual title, and instead, change the peaked to the correct peaked word. So it shows all the changes that are here. So far, I would say, yes, these are all good, and I would accept them. So once you've gone through the entire document and then noted any things that you need to add to it, if possible, you can go in then to the track changes. And if you click on that there, I think the easiest way for you to do it actually is to go to your Tools file or menu at the top under Tools, and you go to Track Changes. It shows you that you can highlight changes, accept or reject changes, or compare documents. So you could actually compare this document with your original if you chose to, or you can go here and actually just do the accept or reject changes, which then gives you the option. Can you see this now? Okay. It gives you the option to accept the changes with highlighting, changes without highlighting, or how do you want to view it? Well, we want to actually accept all the changes so that it looks more like an original document, and all those little notations and underlines and things like that disappear. So when I hit accept all, it's going to caution me, do you want to accept all remaining changes without reviewing them? I'm going to say yes. And this is, of course, after I've gone through the entire document and rejected any changes I did not want to accept. So that's your first step. You need to go in and reject any changes that you do not accept before you go in and accept all changes. So when I close this, after accepting it, you're going to see all the blue lines that were there, that commentary, that's all gone. That red indication up there is for Lisa's, she needs to know what page number it's going to go on. So that's her own notation. And that wasn't part of the actual edit. So now everything's in order. And this book then basically is ready for one final read through before it goes into formatting. Your final read through can happen when you're looking at the editor's notations and deciding whether or not you want to accept the changes. So that's basically how you do that relatively quickly. I'm going to see if you have any questions on that. No?
I have some questions, but not on that.
Okay, well, what are your questions?
Okay, my first question is, so I have some graphics, and I have a couple of versions. One is more detail and one is cleaner. And when people have a Kindle, reading a Kindle book on their phone, I really need the basic one that's very clean. Can I use different graphics for like the physical book versus the Kindle, or is there one graphic for everything?
You can use different graphics for the different versions. And for example, we'll have a lot of people that put images into their book, their interior of their book, that they're going to just have printed in black and white and not have the additional expense of having a full color production on their book. And so they submit the black and white images to the interior, and then for the Kindle version, they submit the color versions. So we do have that happen on a regular basis. I want to caution you, though, that when you're submitting to an ebook, the image that you do provide still needs to be a high resolution. And you're saying when they read it on a phone, but some people read it on a Kindle Fire or their Kindle book and things like that. So that image needs to be, imagine that you're going to have it on different sizes, also based on the font size that is chosen by the person reading the book.
Right.
So just high resolution again.
They're
So
all
that
high quality. They're all high quality,
Yeah.
300 DPI, but just some has more detail than others. And so, okay, so that answers my question. So,
Okay.
So the second question is, could you repeat what you said about the interior and the spine and the 40,000 words? I didn't catch all of that.
Okay. So the exterior of your book, that is comprised of the front cover, the back cover, and the spine of your book.
Right.
So your exterior has 3 phases to it, or 3 parts. Now the back of your cover, the back cover or the back of the exterior, that's typically where you have your author bio and a book description, as well as an author photo, and then the UPC code, things like that. If you want a QR code, that is something Greg can also generate for you, where somebody takes their smartphone and scans the back of your book with a QR code. I don't know if I have one to show you, and it takes them then to like a landing page to submit their email to get on your list, or to your website to buy the book, or whatever it is. So your QR code basically goes to whatever website landing page you determine and set up. Those are some of the things that you can have on the exterior and the back side of your book. The size of the spine, in order to have a spine wide enough in which you can read the actual author name, the book title, things like that. That's hard to do, I know. You can look at ones. I mean, this is even a Wayne Dyer book, but it's so little, and they still were able to get in through some contrast, some printing on the spine, in order for it to be legible. This particular book is 95 pages. So that gives you an idea of what you want. So depending on how you want it to show up and be read, this other book is 203 pages. You need to have about 40,000 words typically in order to meet that 101 pages. That is apparently the magic number where the spine becomes very legible. So again, this is like 95 pages. Not too bad. So that's the main thing. And again, it's a really small size book, this particular book, in comparison to some other ones, So you make the determination of the actual physical size of your book based on how many pages you want to be able to get in there, that type of thing.
I don't understand. My book is only 30,000 words, and Tom said there was really no minimum number of words.
Well, we have somebody who has under 20,000 who's doing an ebook only because it's too thin to print. So there is some minimum words. Now, so if you can look at these 2 books, do you see the size difference on that?
I see the problem,
Okay.
but I don't know why he said there's no minimum.
I don't know why he said there's no minimum, and he's not here for me to ask him that either.
And I don't have 40,000, and I can't just go back and make up 10,000.
Well, your 30,000 is going to get you what I would do with a 30,000 book. You want to have a smaller overall size. So the smaller size you go, the thicker the book becomes.
But you said something about type size too, and I didn't catch that.
That's your font size. So you can increase your font size. Say instead of using a 12-point font, you go up to a 13-point font. A little bit bigger font then adds more pages. Or you could look at your images, and instead of thinking about including an image with text around it, you have one page dedicated to images, and you insert more images that way. That adds more pages.
Okay.
But a lot of people are under, what he's saying is the average size book is about 35,000. What I'm telling you about the 40,000 is basically what the formatting team has given me as a guideline to reach the 101 pages. It is not necessarily a minimum. You don't have to be there. I'm just providing information for you to make informed decisions of then, okay, well, what book size do I want? If I, have shorter or, not as many words, then, I've seen some people that have 50,000 or more words, but they still use a bigger font to have a thicker book. Whereas I think there's a lot of readers in today's world that would be more inclined to pick up this book because they think they can get this done versus this book, which is thicker and more intimidating. So, you know, there's all kinds of ways to play the game and look at the system. But it comes down to, again, possibly visiting your Barnes and Noble book, your local bookstore, taking a look at different books. What you can do is actually, you find out how many pages they have, look at the size of the font, that type of thing. And then if you go to Amazon, it will probably tell you exactly how many words are in that book, you know, not just the pages. So you'll have an idea of how you can lay out your book in order to get it appealing enough to today's reader, you know. But we do want to try to get the spine printed if at all possible. That's you know, it looks nice on the bookshelf. It's easy for people to grab. But we can play with that, and that just comes down to size and, like you say, typeset, things like that. You know, you can look at some fonts that are similar in nature to Times New Roman, where it has the little extra, you know, Arial's a very block line style font, where Times New Roman looks more like a typeset of your original typewriter type font. And so you can look at fonts that, like Georgia, things that emulate that might have just a little bit wider, like look at the letters E's, look at your vowels, look at your O's to see how wide is a 12-point font in a Times New Roman. And you do this in a Word document. You just go through your fonts in Word and take a look and play and experiment with it. And so that O is just maybe 1/16 of an inch wider than the Times New Roman, but when you add 20,000 or 50,000 O's in your manuscript, that starts to add to pages. It's kind of like the pennies that they'll skim off the top of, you know, credit, things like that, interest rates. They do add up after a while. So look at those things and start to play with ways that you can get your book into a size that you're happy with. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? I have some viewers in there. Okay, I'm going to promote some people. Oh, Lisa's been pretty quiet. That's why, because she hasn't been able to. So we'll see if you guys have any questions. Hi, how are you? Sorry about that. Trying to run the show and handle administrative stuff. And congratulations, Lisa, on getting your interior, your formatted interior and exterior.
I wanted to just add to a couple of tips that I heard about expanding those pages. Couple of them are, you can request that all chapters start on a right-hand page, for example. So if a chapter ends on a right-hand page, you're going to take up an extra page that way. You have all your chapters start halfway down with a drop cap, 3-line drop cap. That takes up even more printing space. And then then don't forget your back matter and your front matter add pages. So the way you choose to lay out the front matter and the back matter, for example, if you have a dedication, it goes on its own page. You can request a blank page after your, your copyright information. And I have seen people have pages for people to write notes in. It's just like write notes here, and like 2 or 3 sort of blank pages toward the back that flesh it out and have brought the book right up to 101 pages because they added on a separate page. And so your any contact or previous books written, any of those little things that you might put in the back matter, if you request that they each be on their own page, even the words "the end," could be on their own page. So those were some tricks that I think that's
yeah, absolutely, Lisa. Thank you for all those suggestions, and you're absolutely right. Those are ways that do add to it. I mean, you can even do things like you add a quote on its own page before a new chapter, which then the new chapter, as Lisa says, you have your new chapter start. And that's a pretty standard format for new chapters to start on the right-hand page. One thing that is important to note, the standard format for the formatters, though, they'll start on the right page, but they do start at the top. So Lisa made that very important part where you say you want to start 1/3 of the way down or half the way down, even doing a drop cap for the first one, which brings down about 2 or 3 lines. So all those different suggestions are perfect and brilliant. And thank you for that, Lisa. I do appreciate that. And yes, everyone, we work in Word. That's before it goes into the formatting. When you get your files back from the formatting team, it'll be in a PDF file for you to make your reviews and revisions on. You do not necessarily have to do your right justified in your manuscript when it goes into the copy edit, but if you want to, absolutely go ahead and do that. I was showing you what because that gives you a better concept of what your book is going to look like when it's laid out in a book. So the more you can emulate that format early on, the more you're going to get used to, wow, this actually is a book. I am writing a book and this is how it's going to look. So that's going to help you be able to determine the ultimate interior formatting in the long run as well. So well done. Thank you. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think you probably just said it, but I just want to clarify that after, I guess you kind of do the form and you do your requests and everything, and they format it for you, you get a PDF back, as in you'll get to see what it's going to look like. And then, so that's cool, right? And then you can say, okay, yes, I like this, or no, I want to do this change and that change.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You do get your interior format comes back in a PDF format. You can put it on your screen and you can actually view it under book view. So you could see the pages as they would flip 2 by 2. Or a lot of people just have it on their computer screen and they just read page after page. But the thing is you're going to note when it comes into you, it's going to have several numbers along the left-hand column that indicate the line number. So you'll actually, when you're making changes, you'll note on their form the page number and the line number. You'll note in a column, this is how it appears. And then in the second column, you'll note this is how I want it to appear with your change. Again, our formatting team, they're technicians, they're humans, they can make mistakes, but they're also, English is a second language. They're working overseas, and that's why we get a lot of our formats come in at the middle of the night and so forth. So the clearer you can be, now they're really well trained and they do very well, but they follow instructions. They're from a culture that follows instructions. So they're not paid to notice if that particular word that you're changing it to is misspelled. They may not have, and they're trained and very specific that you do exactly as it's shown so that you're giving the author, and it's not up to them to edit and make suggestions for those changes. So again, very important for that it goes in initially as clean a manuscript as possible. So even with the copy edit, hopefully you will look at having somebody else, a line editor, a proofreader, somebody else besides yourself, and anyone who was really, that was really good in English class, look at it. Have somebody, pay them $150, whatever it is, to do that, because then you're going to ensure that you're putting in as clean a manuscript as you possibly can from the get-go. So when you're reviewing it, the changes are minimal. And I have to tell you, I started with Tom in the middle of May. None of the projects were tracked, but I can tell you we're getting to the end now where some of those projects that went into formatting, I submitted one today with the 10th revision cycle. 10 revision cycles. That we don't offer that. Our program has 3. So you have your initial output that comes in, your initial formatting output comes in, then you have an additional 3 revision cycles that are covered in the program that we purchase, the package we purchase on your behalf. So if you go beyond those 3 revision cycles on your initial formatting, it does incur a $35 revision fee. So, you don't want to have things like 10 revision cycles, especially when they take a week or two at a time from the formatting team to turn around. And we're not submitting 1 or 2 changes on that. That's multiple pages of changes each time it's going in. You do not want to have that with your book. So when you submit as clean a manuscript as possible from the get-go, those changes are going to be minimal, and they'll be quick, and they'll turn around, and you'll meet your launch dates, and you'll meet your expectations. But the ones that aren't are the ones that just unfortunately got manuscripts in there that were not in good shape. And not a fun experience for anybody. So it's kind of my personal goal to make sure that we avoid that. Lisa's a great example of submitting something great and top-notch from the get-go. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Haven't lost anyone yet? No? Okay. So, well, we've covered formatting your manuscript for copy edit and some of the shortcuts there, as well as looking at your copy edited. And Lisa, you probably saw that. I didn't see you, but we used your manuscript. So thank you for allowing us to do that. And we accepted all the changes. And now some of the other thing, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I know some of you have come onto Facebook. The first time you came onto Facebook was because you joined the Publish Now program. And others have been on for a while. And some of you may be very tech savvy, and others may be very intimidated with that. But I have had some questions. You know, not everyone's working with Denise in the Amazon bestseller campaign, which she does a lot of the social media for people when they're working with her. And she can be very helpful in that regard. But some of us need to learn how to do some of this stuff on our own. So I just wanted to quickly go over how to set up an author website. First of all, can I take a quick poll here by, I guess, hands raising if you have it. How many of you already have an author website or author page on Facebook? So just one that I can see, or 2. Okay. Lisa's not so sure. I kind of do. I have something out there. Yes. Okay. Got it. Okay.
I do have it.
How do you raise a hand? I don't see where you raise a hand.
Like this, Kathy. Hi.
Oh. Okay. I'm looking for
that was kind of my
in the chat box.
It's like the people in the bathroom that are standing there and they can't get the water to run because it actually have to turn on the handle. We get so accustomed to this technology, but there is a way to raise a hand here, I think, somewhere as well. I think it might be under the Q&A, but I don't know for sure. So
I'm used to go to webinar with my other groups.
Right. Oh, we have Lynn joining too. I'll promote her here. So if you don't already have your author page on Facebook, you'll want to get that set up as early as possible. And the reason being, good, Christine, I'm happy to hear that. That's kind of your place to have your professional message on Facebook. You want that to be separate from where you post your family vacation photos. You know, some of you may need to have some anonymity around and keep that while you have a professional life and you have a personal life. Now, the thing is, with that, it is imperative, absolutely imperative, that if you're going to have a presence in social media, that you are building a community. You're giving something of value. Everyone in today's world wants to know what's in it for them. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What am I going to get? So when you're looking at your potential readers of your book, you have to ask, what's in it for them? What can I give them that's going to want, they're going to want more. They're going to want more of me. They're going to want more of my message. They're going to want to buy my book. So I have seen people build some very powerful communities within Facebook. And, you know, years ago, social media was like gold for entrepreneurs. It was just like everyone's biggest dream had just come true. All of a sudden, they had their ideal clients at their fingertips and they could reach them easily. But, you know, like the crack addicts or the drug dealers, they get you hooked. And then you're all of a sudden you got this gold and this is available to you. And then they change the algorithms. And now you have to do things like promote your posts and pay a little bit for people to see what you're doing, even when you have a fan base under your pages. So that's where Facebook is today. You don't just get to set up an author page and have your little posts and assume that everybody that likes your page is going to see those posts. The only way that you're going to be able to build up that type of, do you have a question there, Kathy?
Yes, I do. When you get a second.
If it's related to this, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a professional Facebook page. So for my diet coaching, optimal health diet coaching, and my book will eventually be related to that. But do you want two pages, one for your book and one for your work, or just combine them?
In your case, since you have a professional page that's already related to your subject, you can just optimize that page. You don't necessarily want to divide yourself so thin that you're not reaching anybody. And, you know, a lot of people have that exact same situation where their book is part of their message. They're an entrepreneur, a conscious entrepreneur, their business and their book is actually supporting that. So then that page is one-on-one. You use that professional page. But if, you know, you're just, I'm not going to say just an author. If you're an author starting out and you have no professional Facebook page, you want to start with setting up your author. And you can actually, when you set up your page, you can say that it is an author page, which is kind of neat to do that. But again, it's important to know that just because you set up the page and you invite all your friends to like it and they like it, they're not always going to see your posts. And the only way to really get that page to optimize and work for you outside of spending and promoting particular posts and investing in that marketing, which is definitely something that you should definitely consider when you're doing the launch of your book. You want to have some sponsored ads during that time so that it's showing up in people's news feeds to purchase your book and things like that, especially when you're looking at getting an Amazon bestseller or, you know, doing that on your own. However you do that, that is the only way you're really going to reach a larger audience. And you can do it pretty minimal. You pay for clicks and things like that. And I've grown, you know, my husband's professional page to nearly 10,000 people by doing some minimal investment on sponsored ads. So it doesn't take a large investment, but it does take time and attention, because what people want today more than anything is connection. We're living in a tech-savvy world where everyone has everything, everything's available. In a few clicks of a button, they can find out any information they want. And what we are and as more and more people are staring at their screens day in and day out, what they're asking for is connection. Technology is providing that connection to a lot of people. But you're vying with thousands of cat videos and everything else that's taking whatever people spend their time on the internet doing. So you need to be providing something of value to them. What's going to get their attention? What are they going to gain from it? And how are they going to share that with others? Because the best way to promote your message is word of mouth. When people know you, they respect you, you're coming from an authentic place, they're going to share your message. And that's how social media, that's how things go viral. And, you know, this is not something, have fun and play with this. Facebook Live now, you can go with your smartphone and you can broadcast a live message. If you're out on I've seen somebody, there's a Facebook page called OWL, One Wise Life, OUW, OWL, One Wise Life. And this woman has built 150, well, she's probably got 300,000 followers the way it's been going now, of just posting Facebook Live videos of her concept, her wisdom, what she shares, as well as interviews and things like that. So she's giving something of value to people. They're tuning in. They want more. So she can build a business now on her, you know, and sell 1 million copies of her books by having this community standing behind her. And so that's things that you really want to look at. Anybody can set up an author page and it can be crickets. And honestly, that's pretty much where my page is, because I don't have time to do a lot of social media right now. But you're not going to develop a community. And when you launch your book, even if you have 1,000 fans, don't expect to have 1,000 books sold. So yes, Richard, you have a question. Let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay. one of the reasons I was really interested in Tom's program is this exact thing. I know very little about Facebook, and I certainly don't know how to set up a program. But he said, we're going to teach you how to do that. Even like this is a computer, and this is how you turn it on. That they'll go right. I don't need it that basic, but I do need help in knowing how to do that. I think I may have a Facebook page, but I don't really know how to use it. Once in a while, I get something from my sister sending me messages on my email, and I'll reply to her. I finally learned how to reply, but I know nothing about it, and I really need to know. At this point, my book is still, I'm doing some changes that Tom wanted me to do, so we have a little time here.
Well, great. Well, good. And that's what, so yeah, the very first place you do have to start before you can start a Facebook professional page or your author page is to have a Facebook account. So that's important, first of all, for all of you to know. And I know that a lot of authors, like I said, have come in. The only time they've even set up a Facebook account is because they went into the Publish Now program. And, if you're going to put your book out there in today's world, social media is part of the game. And until you can pay someone to do your social media for you, we're usually on our own to do that. And it's also important, I do want to put this in there, if you get to that point where you are having somebody do the administrative work on your social media, make sure they're carrying your voice. That is essential. That is essential. It will not resonate with people. It will not land if you're, not having somebody that's 100% behind you and your mission and your message. It's just not the same. And again, today's world, contact. So let's see if we can do this. And I'm looking at the time now, and this shouldn't take too long, but I just do want to make sure I'm not rushing through it. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, see how much we can get through in the time that we have. And I may look at adding this to when I do the speaking engagements on October 27th, finishing up this little area if I need to. Okay, so here's my Facebook. And basically, I'm on the home. So I'm not on this is my, if I were to click on my name, I go to my timeline. You can see all the beach I want to escape to, my beautiful grandbaby, all those fun things. Okay. When I switch to the home view, that gives me my news feed. That also gives me over here in the left-hand side, it shows some of my favorites, messages, events, things like that, photos, shows some of my pages that I have going on. And pages here, I have a list of pages and I have a list of groups. I can tell you in today's world, Facebook groups, I spend more time in Facebook groups than I do just in Facebook in general, because that's where a lot of the connection, the community's built. A lot of you have experienced that through Tom's groups on the Publish Now and really worked with people that way. When I open up the groups, it gives me all the information there, but I'm actually doing pages. I got to remember what I'm doing here. So a group is a way, you don't necessarily want to set up a professional Facebook group unless if you do have that community in which you're really wanting to develop and have more of a private area for people to share and not have the fear of being exposed or being able to openly share. Now, if you look at your left-hand column, you'll see pages. Pages will list all the pages that you typically have liked, things like that. And when I'm going to click on more under pages, because what you're going to do is create a page. So that's where you would start, is by creating a page. Now, when you have to create a page, you have an option. Is this a local business or place, company, organization or institution, brand or product, artist, band or public figure, entertainment, cause or community? Now, if you were to say a local business, because you're an entrepreneur like many of you are, you do have to put in a physical address to that, just so you know. But most of you are going to pick here under artist, band, or public figure, because this is going to be your author page. Then you have choose a category. We're going to put author in there, and you would put your name. So hopefully you're writing under your name, as Tom doesn't believe we should be writing under pen names, but if you have a legal author name, that's the name you want to put in there. So I've selected author, put in my name. Of course, by clicking the Get Started, I'm agreeing to the Facebook page terms. I'm not going to go through that tonight. I'll leave that up to you if you want to read through on your own before selecting that. when I do click the Get Started, let's see if my computer can keep up with broadcasting Zoom and everything else. Nothing's happening. See if I can close something. Well, that was pretty uneventful. I'm not sure what's going on here. It does appear to possibly be just a low Wi-Fi connection. But everything that I have found with Facebook, it's very user-friendly. Facebook really works for all levels of educated people on different levels of technology. They make it very simple and user-friendly and guided. For whatever reason, it's not letting me go through the Get Started, and it's probably my bandwidth at this time. So if I look at doing this, I'll have to do that. But when you go into the Get Started, then it's going to ask you for additional details, things like setting up your page description. So you want to have your bio in place, your author bio in place, maybe what your mission or message is, your book description, things like that, ready to go in and plug into Facebook when you set up your author page. Just like your personal profile and personal page in Facebook. Let's see if it'll let me open up one of my pages here. You're going to have a cover photo and a profile photo. So you would want to look at things like if you have your book, this is what it's doing. I already have a page under my name, so it's not letting me do it. So let's see if I can maybe go in and set up under somebody else. Set up an author. We're going to say James Dean. Or maybe do not want to see if it's somebody that's a public figure already and them give me a hard time. Okay, so I can't use a false name. Darn. Okay, my hacking skills are extremely limited. I'm just going to show you what a Facebook page does look like, though. It's very similar to what your personal page looks like. You'll have a profile photo, and you're going to have a place for a cover photo in here. I probably don't have a lot of information on here. Like I say, I haven't been really active out here. But it's going to go into the page info. Yes?
If you pull up my Facebook page, you'll see both the business one that has the books at the top and my personal one, if you want to use that.
Okay. I will get there. Yeah, I'm going to show. So this is some of the information you would put into your page when you're setting it up. The category was also already selected as author. The name is in there. It assigns a username based on that. You can enter a start date and address as simple as city, state, location. Any kind of affiliation if you want to put in there. Here is a place for your short description and your long description. Again, a place for your bio. You can enter awards, especially after your book does gain awards. That's a great place to enter that information. You can also enter some of your favorite books. Those might be the books that helped inspire you to be a writer. You could put your gender in there, any other personal information, personal interests, phone number, email. So you can have as much detailed information, a link to your website, all of that in there, especially if you're working it as a business and you want to have people contact you. It would be good to have all that detail in there. So then you basically, after that, you can just do posts as far as sharing photos for your book and, different quotes from your book, asking questions. You invite people actually to like your page. And I'm going to see if I can do that before I go to Lynn's. Under more, where you can edit your page info. You can view what it would look like if somebody were to come to your page. So this is what your reader is going to see and how that page is going to look to them versus how it looks to you as the administrator. And if you see here, I have apps in here where people can join my client list. They can go to my YouTube channel. They can stay connected via email. So all these things Facebook will guide you through. You can also set up things like an event if you have a workshop going on. And I think Facebook now has it to where you can actually accept payments for those events through Facebook. So there's all kinds of ways of using this professional page to be your community and to really help, grow your message and get it out there in bigger ways. You want to invite your friends when you set up your page. That's the most important thing, is to start getting people to show up for you. And I'm just seeing, so under here where it shows how many people like this page, you can go here and invite friends to like this page. Now Facebook has gotten rid of it. It used to be you could just invite all your friends at one fell swoop. It does not work like that anymore. You actually have to go in and physically invite them. So, I could start clicking on the people that haven't liked it. Oh, my daughter hasn't liked my page. I'll invite her just to show you. The invite was sent just like that. So you go through and just click on the people that you want to invite. Again, a lot of people receive invitations in today's world with Facebook because more and more people are setting up groups and they're setting up events and they're setting up professional pages. So don't take it personally if somebody doesn't accept your invitation. It usually means they didn't see it, and you can always send a reminder later. It's usually just because it gets buried by the time that they actually get back into Facebook. They don't see it. So again, you could just go through and invite one by one all the people you want to. Now, some people would tell you invite everybody. I tend to be more selective. But again, if I were getting ready to launch my book, I would go through and invite every single person on my friend list at that point. So, I'm just not there to do that yet. But that is definitely something I would take advantage of, is bringing your friends, because again, social media becomes viral when people share things. But you can put things in here, when you go to your status, you could just, what's your quote for today? You could add photo and video. The key to making a successful Facebook professional page is to ensure that you're posting on a regular basis. Again, consider even replicating the same post from the morning in the afternoon, because you're going to have the algorithms of Facebook and the way it feeds into people's timelines and for them to their news feeds. It's just based on when they go into Facebook. So if you're building a business and really trying to drive more people to your page and awareness on it, you definitely want to be posting on a regular basis. Now, some people will find, I know Lisa has an algorithm that she's doing on Facebook right now with, I think you're using actually a quote generator that you're not physically doing yourself, but it's posting on your behalf. Is that correct, Lisa? Did I lose Lisa? I don't know who's still on here. But anyway, I do, so you can do things like that whatever it takes to continue to get yourself on the newsfeed as frequently as possible. But the issue with doing things like that is it's not your quotes that are going out there. So again, set up, do things really easy. Use the different programs available to you to take those images from the copyright-free places, put your particular quote on it, and then your brand, your signal, whatever that is, so that you're actually branding your message and getting it out there. And because then ultimately what you want people to do is share that. You want them to share that. And then, you can start getting to the point, I'm not going to get into this tonight because that's a whole nother thing, where you start putting hashtags in there. So whatever your hashtag is, for my message, a lot of times I'll put the hashtag living in alignment. That's one of the areas where I really teach a lot. So I try to put things and categorize them under those hashtags so that in the future I can go to that. If I do, I could always put joy in there, but so are 3 other million people putting joy in their message. So what can I use for my message besides maybe just my name, my hashtag of my name, that will help me to go find those things later and to use them, utilize them. But that was just a really quick way of looking at Facebook and getting your author message set up as quickly as possible. So again, you just go to your home page, go under pages, select pages, and hit create new. And then you're going to set up under person, celebrity, and then select author as the category and put your name, and then go through adding the information as you're guided to do so. So I'm on Lynn's, this is your personal, I'm not seeing the link to your actual professional one. You might have your website listed under your intro, but yeah, I'm not seeing where I could get to your professional page.
That's curious.
Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know. But I don't usually see the two actually linked. Now, I do see people, like if I were to go post on my professional page and put my quote there, then where do I want to share it? I want to share it under my personal timeline as well. So you're going to post things under your professional page first, and then go into that professional page and share it under your personal page so that it helps to grow the awareness and the reach. But you see here how Facebook gives me this little algorithm and tells me, okay, you can start to promote this. And these are the different ways to do that. And that's a whole nother subject of getting that set up. But hopefully that would be enough to get you started. Richard, let me know if you have any issues getting that going, or anyone else for that matter. But I would recommend you go ahead and get a Facebook page set up as early as possible in the process, a professional Facebook page, your author page. Yes, Kathy.
I'm mute. Okay. When I was putting up my, what do you call the background photo? So you have your personal, your face photo, and I've got to replace what I have in there. But the background photo, I did a collage, and I got some coaching on it. But I don't know about everybody else, but I mostly do Facebook on my phone. I rarely do it on my full-size computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the collage. And do you know, are there any numbers, or what do you recommend for people? I think it's better to have something more simple if people are mostly using their phones, because it's smaller, rather than something real complicated and a number of pictures or things put together. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
It does make sense. I think you're referring to the cover photo, that big panoramic style photo at the top.
Like the banner.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're right on that. On the cover photo, I would definitely recommend, and I'm just going to show you, let me show you under my, am I still screen sharing? No.
No.
I want to show you this real quick, because we had a book launch, or I had a book launch when on one of the compilation books I was in a while ago. And the graphic person basically put, let's see here, where can I go to photos? I don't want to go to that one. This was something I had done on Fiverr, was just some of the words, the keywords and phrases that were important to me, and worked with somebody on Fiverr. Fiverr is also a great resource if you want to use on book design. You can find people for around $45 to help you with the book design if you really need to get that cover before you have your exterior, you know, the back page and stuff worked out. But on these photos, let me see here. I don't know if I can look at which ones were cover photos, but these are some of the things like Denise has done with the Amazon bestseller. These are very similar, where, you know, you have your book cover and you release on a specific date. And you might have affiliates that offer gifts and things like that. I'm trying to see where the actual, let me go to not timeline photos, but cover photos. And you can do that with your book. You can put together, it's not, I know it, oh, I don't have one now. It looks like a collage, but it was very similar to that, where it does show, you know, your book cover, your release date, things like that. So it's not so many graphics all in one place like a collage, but you do have some images on it that show specific information, like this is the date of the release, the title, your author name, something like that, to capture their attention. Because, yeah, I understand what you're saying about it being on the phone, but again, all of this technology, the apps that they do for Facebook are designed to convert to a smaller screen, those images. So again, it comes down to just having really high resolution photos that can convert to different multiple sizes and be read very easily. And, you know, like this one is just, it's quick, you know, the name of the book, you know, when it's launching, that type of thing, or what website is, you know, things like that. So work with people, your own designers, if you have those, for that type of promotional materials. Or again, Fiverr, Fiverr, 2 R's.com is an excellent resource to work with designers as well. So there we go. We have used all of our time. Let's see here. I'll stop sharing the screen, answer any last minute questions you might have before we wrap up. But again, next week, David Thalberg on the 13th will be here to go over some media and branding basics, which is, I'm sure, going to be a very valuable talk. And then we won't have a meeting on the 20th of October, and we'll meet again on October 27th, where I'm going to help you guys book some speaking engagements. Are you ready for that? Yeah? Yes? Yeah? Okay, good. Because it's going to be important to be able to share your message out there. So, all right. Thank you. I appreciate all of your time. Have fun, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Take good care.